Hi, my name is David Stokely. My mother was 17 years old when she had me. I never met my biological father at all. At the age of 2, my mother remarried this guy who was a truck driver and was never home. Him and my mother had a daughter together. And, you know, I used to watch my mother always cheat on him with his best friend and another guy. I never had any man in the house at all whatsoever. My mother, she used to take every opportunity she had just to beat me up at all times. She would swing at me with anything she could get her hands on. As my sister got older, she would try to turn that anger onto my sister, and I would always do anything that I could to get in the way of that. My house at all times was always chaos. Lights were getting cut off, bills weren't getting paid, very little food from time to time, and if it wasn't for my grandparents, I probably wouldn't even be here today. So I grew up floating back and forth between South Houston and Pasadena my whole life. I used to hang out at this park over there by my grandparents' house a lot. And at those places right there, I used to watch all the older kids that were in high school and some not even in school at all, hoop and sell dope right there. It was always partying and things like that going on. They used to have like Mustangs all fixed up and all the nice shoes and clothes and things like that. And I was wearing like Payless shoes and things. And then, like I said, you know, our bills were hardly getting paid sometimes unless my grandparents contributed. So I grew up always wanting to have some things. At the age of 8 years old, I got into a neighborhood fight behind a bingo hall with some kids representing my neighborhood against another neighborhood. Whenever I got brought home from the cops, and then the next day at school, a lot of kids started coming up to me that normally didn't come up to me, like congratulating me and all that. But then from that point on, I started getting in more trouble in school because now they seen that, you know, I wasn't afraid to fight and that I wasn't this, you know, just nerdy white kid. At the age of 16, I moved in with a girl that was 21 years old. And by this time, I'm already running pounds of marijuana up to Jasper, Texas. On one of those trips, I was on the way back and I got pulled over. I got charged with possession of marijuana and unlawful carrying of a weapon. They sentenced me to the TDC boot camp. Counting county time and the boot camp time, I spent a year of incarceration there. While I was incarcerated, you know, that's the best place for me to connect. So whenever I came home, I had a connection on ecstasy, and I moved out to Humble, Texas, and I started doing that out there, selling X pills and weed. That went on for a few years, and at the age of 22, I was on my way home from a house party with a friend of mine, and I crashed my car into the Houston Ship Channel. The car went 40 feet deep underwater. The Coast Guards were able to get me out of the water, but they weren't able to get my friend out. She ended up drowning in the car, and whenever they pulled the car out, her body was still in the car. They charged me with intoxicated manslaughter. I was on bond for that. They treated me for PTSD and severe depression. My car accident was on the news, so nobody would hire me because they thought that I'd be dangerous because my mind wouldn't be in the workplace. I started doing some things that I had done previously, which was robbing people. So I caught an aggravated robbery while I was on bond for the intoxicated manslaughter. That violated my bond. They sent me to jail. They were trying to give me 25 years. They dropped the aggravated robbery and just charged me with my intoxicated manslaughter and gave me a 6-year sentence. While I was incarcerated, I didn't follow any rules. I didn't do anything. Only thing I really did just for myself was go to school. That was the only positive thing that I did in there. Other than that, I did everything wrong. So I was forced to parole to a halfway house in Dallas. I was out there with no support, with no type of help whatsoever. One of my stepdads that my mom was married to had actually left some money in a will that I didn't know about, so I started a business up. And with that, the mindset kicked in to be this kingpin. And so I was running my business, doing limousines, and also started selling ecstasy again, but now mollies, in the molly form. I was connected with some guys that were doing a whole bunch of organized crimes. One of those other charges that I caught was helping a guy get away from the cops. They charged me hindering the apprehension of a known felon. I ran a cop off the road. Also, I was charged with a burglary of a habitation, being the lookout while they took everything out of this mansion. We got away with $250,000 worth of stuff that day. I was sentenced to 10 years in prison, and I did another 4.5 years on that. While in prison for the second time, during that trip, my first couple of years down there, same old thing, I wasn't doing nothing. I was selling dip, hustling, gambling, messing with the guards, female guards, and things like that. No change, no desire to do anything different but come home and just not go back to prison, but obviously not change the behavior that would send me to prison. I got sent to the Ellis unit, and over there, a guy that had 25 years done on a life sentence had reached out to me one day. I went out to the rec yard and I met with him, and he was talking to me and he was asking me what I was gonna do when I go home. I was helping guys with their GED. He said, you know, you can help people. He started talking to me about his crime and, you know, trying to introduce me to the word, but I really wasn't trying to hear it. But I took him up on his invitation just because in TDC there's no air conditioning. So I went to that strictly for the AC, and I started just listening to some things. And little did I know, some things were actually starting to take root in my mind. I was on the basketball court one day warming up for basketball, just really contemplating my life and all the decisions that I made in all the years that it's cost me incarcerated. I was thinking about that I was gonna do away with some of the things that I have in my life, like hustling in prison, messing with the women guards, the fighting and all that. I made no decision to follow Christ. I just finally decided that I had enough of prison. I started having this desire just to pray and things like that, so I started praying, not even knowing what I was doing. And some things started kind of just changing in my heart, and I ended up getting baptized. Well, one day I'm listening to the radio and I'm listening to this program, and I'm hearing about this ministry that's doing things out in the streets and all that. So I walked down to my homeboy that's been inviting me, and I said, man, you hear that? He was like, yes, man, I would like to do that. But keep in mind, I'm not even following Christ or nothing like that. I don't even know what it means to follow Christ. I just had this feeling in my heart just to do something different with my life. Well, in TDC, they like to move you around a lot, so they sent me to the WIN unit, from Ellis to the WIN unit. I got over there to the WIN unit, and there were some brothers there that were Christian brothers, and they were always trying to reach out to me. But when I got there, I had just got a set off, and my grandpa died, so I kind of backtracked from the word a little bit and started doubting it, like, you know, like, wow, this happened. A couple of brothers there just stayed with me, and they invited me to a program called House Church. I got involved with House Church there, and I felt my spiritual life start to grow. I started going and trying to get anybody that I could to come hear this message that these people were bringing. I started learning the word. I was just had a desire just to share it with everybody because I had a whole different vibe inside of me. I had a joy in my heart, and I started understanding what it means to love people. Today, you know, I'm free. I'm not in prison anymore, physically nor mentally. You know, I'm free. I'm out here doing everything that I need to do to give back to the communities that I helped destroy. My desire is to help rebuild things and try to show people what hope is and try to love on people as much as I can.
Right.